Let's try again. I hope this echo has stopped. So, as I said, I welcome everybody. I'm sitting in Leeds. It's a sunny, cold morning, and I hope you are all well. And we have actually only 3 presentations this morning because Roosa Eriksson from Tampere University had to cancel. So we can say there will be 15 minutes presentation and 15 minutes question and answers and discussion for each session. But we have to stick to the time because after this session, I have to have my own presentation. So I want to ask the other presenters, is there any question you want to ask before we start?
There's
no question. Then, I mean, I can see this third presentation, but according to my timetable, there should be the far-reaching impact of UBI in Kowiti village as the first one. Is this person around to present? It doesn't seem to be as if the person is there. At least I don't get a response. Okay, then let's go to the next one, which is already up there. So this is UBI or UBG, which direction shall Mercia go in? Presented by Markus Petz and Damon Hoppe. So I suggest we start with this one. Maybe the other person will still come. Otherwise, we only have 2 presentations. So I would pass on to Markus and Damon, and please go ahead. And when you have finished, don't forget to mute yourself so that we can go on with the discussion and question and answers. Thanks a lot. Please go ahead, Markus and Damon.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me okay? Moderator, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thanks a lot. It sounds good.
So good morning. I'm actually in Finland. So I was very struck by this concept of saying what mountain you're from. So my mountain is Northern Europe, where I'm currently standing. And I can think of the indigenous people here as being actually the Finns. And they are the first ones that we know that lived in this area since the ending of the ice ages. So I'm quite embedded in that community. But nevertheless, I'm talking about Mercia. And Mercia is not here. It is also in Northern Europe. So I will start with a Mercian greeting, which is wassail, which means good health to you all. So our presentation today, there are 2 of us. There's myself and Damon Hoppe. And I shall do the first half of the presentation, and Damon shall finish on the philosophical and more detailed aspects of universal basic guarantee. So the presentation will take this form. I'll briefly present what independent Mercia is, because you may not know. We'll talk a little about the problem of money relations, although there's a question of institutional economics that comes in when we're talking in respect to universal basic guarantee. Then I'll explain the textual methodology that we've applied. That's actually in a paper, which we hope will be coming out soon, as I'm sure many of us have done after our presentations. And then we will explain exactly what UBG is. And lastly, hauntology and a final summary. So we're going to contrast the 2, universal basic income, which is money, and universal basic guarantee, which is more of a service provision framework. So Mercia is an ancient Anglo-Saxon kingdom, which still exists in some ways. And we had a declaration of independence in 2003, where we reasserted our independence. I could say we're an ancient Anglo-Saxon kingdom, and that's about 1,500 years old. But the modern Mercian movement is a revivalist movement, which is some say has got echoes from long past, and some say is a more recent rediscovery of our heritage. So what we're aiming for is a cooperative community. And so we work cooperatively in what's called the Acting Witan, which is the government of Mercia, from those of us who declared independence. And I'm one of those members, as is Damon. We also have an organic democracy, so it's consensus-based. So our process for producing this was done by consulting other people, making it very clear that it's Damon and my opinions, and allowing members of the acting Witan and any other Mercians to comment on the presentation and what we're saying and talk about the service. We also believe very strongly in ecological balance. So I noticed that many of the UBI talks focus very much on the human element, and we're also keen to make sure that we consider the natural world and that we're placed within that natural world. We're a clear part of it. You can see there a map that shows within Britain where Mercia is, so it's roughly the Midlands. And then you'll see at the bottom right the Declaration of Independence, and behind it are two symbols, and one of them you can't read, it's on the left, and that's the one above, and that is the Odal rune of Mercia. So the first characters that English were written in were runes. So we took that rune, which signifies heritage and history, and it's definitely not fascist. It's just very much part of the culture and history that we had. So that was something that was taken a while ago. So that's Mercia. Now, when we talk about Mercia, over such a long period of history, we can see a number of monetary innovations that have occurred in there. So here's some pictures of some of those innovations. So if we start in the bottom right, you will see King Offa, and that's a silver penny that he made. And he copied that idea from other currencies that were around, and the design is copied again from other currencies. So ideas spread and ideas carry. So that's one currency. You can see next to it some more modern Mercian pennies that we made as the acting Witan to kind of highlight the idea of our heritage and history. Above that, you'll see a Newcastle truck token. So truck tokens are provided when there isn't enough cash in the economy for small trade. And merchants, in this case, this merchant token in Newcastle under Lyme, which is a place in Mercia, created these tokens to give change to the customers, who could then spend them back in the store or with other people accepting the tokens. That creativity has continued. So next to that, you'll see some Bristol pounds. So Bristol actually made its own money. And our advantage of making your own money like that is that if the money isn't coming exogenously, you can create it endogenously, and you're also able to develop some kind of universal basic income with that, because you can have local money that you give out to certain purposes. We can see some other examples of that on the far left are two community currencies, which are two pictures of the same community currency. Is currently produced, and it allows people to trade, and they call it pots because it's in the Staffordshire. So here's some of the monetary innovations we have. And lastly, there is the Newark siege piece. So the King of England at the time in the Civil War could not get money, so he made his only with those siege pieces. I'm getting some interference from another talk here. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, Billy, please go on mute. Put your microphone on mute because you're disturbing the presentation at the moment. Thank you.
The issue with all of those currencies is that they're all related to money relations. So there are two predominant theories around money. The first is the neutral money theory, which is advocated by Milton Friedman. He's perhaps the most famous proponent, although Austrian economists also to some extent, and probably Ayn Rand would have some sympathy with that view. And this is that money is merely a tool or an instrument, and it doesn't represent anything else. And the counter view is more of an institutional economics view, which Eleanor Ostrom and her idea of the commons is perhaps the strongest proponent that we would know of. And there, the idea is the kind of money and the form of money that's introduced, and the framing of that money done by a monetary community, a community of use, shapes the relations and what happens in the wider society. So we're quite conscious of that, and the conclusion would be that money is not neutral. We come down on the institutional economic side. It is very much ideological, and it transforms the social and economic relations. So when we introduce any money, we have to be very conscious what we're actually doing to the society. So we've been consciously looking, if I looked at the previous slide, each of these monies have a different concept around them. So King Offa has obviously got a lot of power. Bristol pound is very local. The merchants is very much business focused, and so on. You can go on with that with many kinds of money. So we must bear this in mind when we think about the money relations with a cash injection versus a more social orientation. So I'm going to hand over to my co-presenter now, Damon. So if Damon's there, can you please come in?
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you, Damon. Please go ahead.
The next radical step is to discuss the philosophical objections. So we're going to go a bit deeper here and critique the very idea of a monetary system. And many of you, or at least some of you, might be familiar with Plato's allegory of the cave. Now, drawing my attention to the little picture I've done of Plato's man cave. In the scenario of the cave, money is acting as a mediation. It's something that comes between yourself and the object in question. To the point, as Baudrillard argues, it obfuscates the thing in itself and replaces it with a simulacra. So in the case of Plato's little man cave here, there isn't an actual football match taking place. The people have no access to it. It is simply a simulation, a simulacra of the football. And what we're trying to say here is that money is no longer representing anything in the world. It has become a thing in itself. It has its own aura, its own reality. And so people now trade in money, and you only have goods and services in order to produce money. And this gives rise to what Heidegger would call the technological attitude, where everything becomes inframed as a means to an end, never an end in itself or a thing in itself. Everything just becomes a standing reserve, a natural resource. Even people are human resources. And therefore money creates what Kant might have called a kingdom of means, a society where your relationship to the other is always what they are as a means to an end rather than a thing in themselves. And for Kant, that is the very definition of radical evil. Kant very strongly believed, and he put forward in his fundamental principles of the metaphysics of morals, that everything must be an end in themselves. And if I may quickly quote his categorical imperative, for all rational beings come under the law that each of them must treat itself and all others never merely as means, but in every case at the same time as an end in themselves. Now just think about that for a moment. We live in a society, we define people by their use value, their market value. There are millions of people who are in poverty because, not for no fault of their own, but because their use value is considered marginal. I don't want to get too down there, so I'm going to quickly move on, but just think about the implications of that. So in our approach to developing these ideas, we took up our textual methodology. And we took two trajectories. Firstly, we came across the Constitution of Mercia, which explicitly, rather than going with the more popular UBI, has gone for this idea of guaranteeing people's basic needs. And this intrigued us. And we, as a way of demonstrating, getting our philosophical imaginations going, we've written a story set in a community that's organised on that basis. So there's a story and a paper, as well as this presentation. So what is UBI, Universal Basic Income? Essentially, it is an unconditional cash payment adequate to meet an individual's needs, paid to everyone, regardless of means or contribution or work. I emphasise adequate because I'm aware there are some people on the right who see this as a means of dismantling the welfare state by giving what we would consider to be a derisory amount of money. People like Charles Murray, for example, and other libertarians, and they're basically using UBI to argue for the elimination of welfare in our societies. So you've now got a movement of people who want to campaign against UBI because they see it about making poverty worse. Okay. So coming back to our textual analysis, we drifted from the Constitution of Mercia. All citizens will be guaranteed at least adequate supplies of water, food, fuel, housing, as a right and ununited to duties. And I'm aware that time is pressing, so rather than read this out, I'm going to let you just quickly read it because I've just realised time is pressing. But basically, going to the story, no one goes without in the community because everyone is guaranteed their needs by the community on a cooperative and consensual basis. So What do we mean by needs? Well, there's the obvious essential needs: food, shelter, clean water, clean air, energy, clothing. But people often overlook the much more fundamental transcendental needs. What does it mean to be a human being? What does it mean for us to live a decent life? And we're talking about transcendental needs here, about community, health, education, and a mutual relationship of care. This is what our way of life should be about. And as such, Independent Mercia has taken up these themes and has generated its overarching concept, of which UBG is just a part of a society where ideas of ecological balance, cooperative community, and organic democracy intersect. Now, many of you might be thinking, what's this universal guarantee? How does that work? How could that possibly work? We were thinking income. But in the UK, where I'm from, we actually already have a form of UBG for health, the National Health Service. In this system, without any contribution, without having to work or be means tested in any way, everybody universally and unconditionally gets access to healthcare services. An institution that we've had for over 70 years. And though there have been problems with it, it has, for the most part, been a dearly loved institution, and it shows you that UBG can operate in the world. So, how would UBG operate in Independent Mercia? What's it all about? Well, we could say having to get this guarantee, because it's now removing the monetary relation so that people will be able to relate to each other as people rather than as workers or service providers. We could start thinking about creating a cooperative community. But at the same time, do we not need a cooperative community in order to have universal basic guarantee? Because if it's a state-based solution, and we can just see the same scenario might happen with UBI, that people just say, oh, it's very, very basic, we'll just give you the minimum. So UBG needs to be part of the community and as a possibility. So trying to draw more towards the close, you might argue that Mercia was once free. We once lived a way of life very much similar to what we were trying to describe, but many of you might think utopian. So in some ways, you can see that the call for UBG and Independent Mercia are both haunting crimes from our dead past for a living future in which that which was broken is made whole again. In our case, a cooperative society in balance with nature, in which people are guaranteed a reasonable standard of living through the principle of UBG. So in summary, UBI is monetary based and money is not neutral. Monetary relations are both morally corrupting and socially and ecologically destructive. UBG is a radical approach to restoring community and ecological balance. UBG for Independent Mercia sees the local community providing for all members of the community as an end in themselves. So very briefly, we have references for these this presentation, but ultimately the central message of this entire presentation and Independent Mercia is a better way of life awaits you. And if we have time, hopefully some people might have some questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Damon and Marcus. So if people have questions, please put them in the question section and I can read them out to Damon. At the moment, there is no question, but I'm sure in this very thought-provoking presentation comparing UBG and UBI, questions or comments. Please go ahead. Otherwise, I mean, I can have a question maybe to start also that as moderator, I shouldn't sort of interfere too much, but as I said, there is no question at the moment I can see. Why do you see money as sort of, as I see it, restrictive and this UBG as, how shall I say, free? Because for me, money means choice and people may have different preferences of their needs. While with UBG, I assume you must have somebody to decide what their needs are. To give you a concrete example, I take a shower, cold shower throughout the year, but some people told me this is crazy in winter, in cold weather, I want a warm shower. I'm quite happy to live just with a cold shower, but have other preferences. So, but with UBG, I suppose you would have to decide what the basic needs or essential needs are. Thank you.
Okay, essentially, with having an income, you have an illusion of choice. You go out and you see like several packets of food, but they're all junk food. So it's about guaranteeing what people really need. So a choice between various bad options isn't really a virtue in itself. So then the next question comes, well, how are we going to make sure people get the needs that they want satisfying rather than just what some arbitrary person wants? And that is why we felt community is most definitely the condition of possibility, in that the whole community would come together on a consensus decision-making basis, decide how those needs may be met, and they'll be met on an individual basis. So one person may, like yourself, be quite happy to have cold showers, but someone else would feel very strongly that they would like to have a warm shower. And so we would provide for both possibilities. And that's the idea. By working in the community, remember that everybody's in the end in themselves. That's the important point. You can't just say, oh, make do with this. It's got to be tailored to that person's individual needs. And it's an obligation on everyone in the community to ensure that happens. So UBG, we see only working effectively in a community basis. So it's talking about very small scale, local production for local needs type scenario, rather than a big statist nationwide scenario. Marcus, do you have anything to add?
Oh, I think that's quite right. As I talked about in the presentation, there's different money relations. So UBI can and has been implemented by using those money relations. For example, cards that can only be spent in certain places, or restrictive bank access requirements. So UBI can also be quite restrictive, and the issue that people say with UBI is, well, will we get leakage? Will money be spent on drugs and drink? Or will it be doing these other negative things? But with UBG, because it's a community agreement, it's much harder to have that, because the needs are not there to have that leakage. So if it's a very hard system, it could be very paternalistic, and then it could be problematic in the way that communism is, for example, in North Korea. But we don't see that, because we see an organic democracy, so it's fully participative. And we actually do that within Mercia. So people are on the acting written, anybody can come to the meetings, anybody can start to be involved. And then the whole system of democracy works out with people can be removed pretty quickly. Not like representative democracy, it's participative democracy.
Okay, thank you, Marcus, and thank you, Damon. I have no questions, so I think it was very thought-provoking and stimulating. I think there's a lot of probably thinking going on, but there are no questions, so I would suggest that we end this presentation here, because we, as I said, we are almost also out of time, and we start with the next presentation. So thanks again for you for your presentation. And I would now ask, is Billy Munda and with the presentation, the far-reaching impact of UBI in Kowiti village, is he available? If yes, please load your presentation and start. I will wait a minute or two. If not, I assume you are not available or not ready for your presentation. And then we can go to the last presentation. Is Billy Munda available to?
Yes.
So can you please then upload your presentation, and then you have 15 minutes for the presentation, and then there are 15 minutes for questions and discussion. Can you please?
Thank you. I think I sent the pre-recording, and in case, because I'm not having it here with me, in case it is not there, I can just go ahead and make another presentation right now, in case you don't have an access to it. Can you hear me?
Let's see the presentation. So, make the presentation, but time is the essential resource here, so we need to be quick, please.
So you can hear me clearly, so I can just continue and make a presentation right away about the far-reaching impacts of UBI in Kowiti A.
Ed, please go ahead then and present by talking, explaining to us what you want to say. We have no presentation, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Billy Nyango Juma from Kowiti A in Kisumu County, Kenya, and the chairperson of Rural Action Community-Based Organization here in Kenya. We have had a UBI project in Kowiti A for almost more than 1 year now. This project started as a result of my interaction with the Mission Possible 2030. That's the chairpersons, Lena Stark. We also have other members like Sarat Davala, who are members of the Mission Possible 2030. And so they started with a project of giving a basic income to 10 members of Kowiti A. And these 10 members we selected using lottery to identify the beneficiaries of the project. After identifying the 7 people, they were to receive $7 per month, $10 per month for 1 year, that is 12 months. And so the 7 members, the 10 members benefited for 1 year from the project. And then another organization came, that is the Impact Market, that came with another impact, the same in Kowiti A. The Impact Markets were able to give almost the entire community a basic income per week, and they were giving $7 to each individual for a week and for a period of 12 months. So the Impact Market did that one, and we onboarded a total of 367 members of Kowiti A. So we had a number of impacts during this project. One of them is that those who were receiving the basic income from Kowiti A were able to work together as a team. And they were working together as a team, maybe as a group or at the family level. You find the husband and the wife were working collectively to start a business, to run it effectively, so that at the end of the program, they're able to continue having a decent life, courtesy of universal basic income. So one impact is that the UBI resulted in teamwork, both at the family level and at the community level. The second impact we were having is that this UBI encouraged freedom of choice. People having freedom to choose what they want to do with the money. This one was coming as a result of the unconditionality of the universal basic income. There is the unconditionality on the part of giving and the unconditionality in the part of receiving. Those who are receiving the money, they were having freedom to choose what they want to do with the money. What is the impact of that? One impact of that freedom of choice is on the political aspect. The politicians were not able to bribe people to vote for them. We happened to have an election. We had an election some 1 month ago, and the campaign was for a number of months ago. And when they were approaching Kowiti A, they were now able to approach Kowiti A in terms of policies. They were able to approach us in terms of policies and not in a way to bribe us. Like if they approach Kowiti A member, they will decide to ask for which program do you want us to implement in the organizations. So instead of giving people handouts, they were now talking about let us do a water project, let us make good roads, let us have more people sponsored to polytechnics and other institutions. Another impact we had in Kowiti A is reduced begging. When each and every person is having a basic need, they tend to plan for themselves. I give an example always of my mother, whom is not employed, just like any other person. So you will find that at the end of the week, she will call maybe to ask for something. When you were having the impact, the UBI in Kowiti A, she was never calling at all. She would end up planning with the $7 per week and then use it effectively so that whenever I give her money, then it is out of my wish to give her, not on condition that I should give, but it is gives her a choice that she can continue with her life, whether you give her or not you give her. It gives her some financial independence. Another impact is that some people experienced a change for a lifetime. Somebody is at the age of 50 but has never had a source of income, a regular source of income. This person was now able to get $7 per week, that translates to 700 Kenyan shillings, and was sure of getting it again. So they had a taste of having money on a regular basis, something that had never happened in their lives. This one gave them hope. Wait for another week to get money. So another thing that universal basic income brings is hope. Another impact I saw is the living standard improved. Because you are living in a very poor society, those who are not able to cater for the basic needs like food were able now to buy food for their children, to buy maybe shoes for their children, and they were able to have 3 meals a day. It is sad that in some homes they were having maybe one meal and then plus the breakfast or tea. With the UBI, they were able to have a meal. It might have not been a balanced diet, but provided that they were having at least a meal at a given time. Another impact about UBI is on the part of the lights and education. Some people were able to buy for their families lights, that is the solar lights, and these solar lights they were paying it in installments, so they could continue paying in installments. As they receive the money, they pay for the light, and children would continue studying and enjoying their education. We also saw an increase in number of the children who are going to school because they were able to eat, the parents were able to pay for school fee. So the number of enrollment in Kowiti A that is having one primary school increased, and children were very happy. In other words, the children also benefited indirectly from the programs. The parents benefited directly, the children benefited indirectly. Another part, that is the last part, this UBI helps to eradicate poverty. And above poverty, it helps to eradicate the big elephant in the line of giving, that is corruption. once you give somebody money directly, you tend to limit corruptions. And we were happy that we were able to reach the last mile because of the blockchain technology that was made available. Each and every person was able to withdraw within the community. Thank you, and I'll be available to answer questions in case there is any.
Yeah, thank you, Billy. That was a very interesting and hopeful presentation about the use of UBI in a Kenyan village. So I would like to invite the audience to submit questions through the participant chat. Please submit. I haven't seen a question at the moment yet, but so I will again ask a question, Billy. When I read about trials like the one you described, and there are some villages who receive basic income and others who don't receive it, I have read reports about sort of jealousy and some tension between the recipients and the non-recipients. And I just wanted to ask you whether you observed similar issues in your study. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I observed that because the neighborhood of Kowiti A were not receiving universal basic income. But being that it was a unique program in our area, they were really praying that they can also have a universal basic income. So I continued explaining to them that universal basic income is championed, that it should be implemented by the government, and people should campaign for the introduction of universal basic income by approaching their leaders to champion for the idea. And I also encourage them that in case it will be possible, one day they will receive a universal basic income from donors or from the government themselves. They even visited my home.
Okay, thank you for your response. I still haven't received any questions from the participants. Therefore, I would like to take my opportunity as facilitator to ask one more question. Did you also record whether there were any negative use of basic income among the recipients, such as tobacco or alcohol? Because often it's claimed that people may spend the money on sort of what is sometimes called negative items. Thank you.
Yes, there was the thinking that people are going to misuse the money in drinking. The aspect that helped most is the time frame for the implementation of the program. When you are very poor and somebody decides to help you for a given period of time, they were now planning, they were now starting to plan themselves so that they can remain stable for the period. Because the issue is once you are given money, you should use it effectively. If you don't use it well, then some will use it well and then you remain behind. So if they were discouraged from using the money to drink or to take too much alcohol, but they tried their best to start small businesses, something that could sustain their lives. Otherwise, drinking, we could not stop them. Anybody who is willing could continue to drink, but here we saw a change in attitude.
Okay, thank you, Billy. There was a similar question now in the chat, but one part which I didn't ask was, another bad is often assumed that people stop working. Did you observe in your village that people who were recipients of the basic income stopped working? Thank you.
That one, I can respond in that Kowiti A, of the adult population of roughly 700 people, roughly 5% are in formal employment. None of them left the employment. And again, those who are not working tried to start small businesses. Some moved to towns to look for employment. because they were able to pay rent, they were able to buy basic needs like food, and they were able to sustain their family using the basic income for the period that they are there. So in our area, we saw it encourage people to look for more employment. Others were engaged in agriculture because they were able to buy fuel and the farm inputs. Some were able to start small businesses. So in our case, it created employment that was unconditional.
Thanks a lot. And there is another question from Sarah Davala. What happened to the unemployed youth in the village? Thank you.
Again?
The question is, what happened to the unemployed youth in the village where the basic income was given? Unemployed.
Youths, just like I said in the last statement, some moved to towns to look for employment. Some moved to the farms to start farming because they were guaranteed that if I plant today and then there is no rainfall tomorrow, I can use the basic income to buy fuel and then irrigate my farm. I can use the basic income money to buy some farm pesticides, something like that. So the youths were more engaged in farming, and some were engaged in looking for the jobs in the nearby towns like Sumu.
Okay, thank you, Billy. So they became very entrepreneurial in their approach, thanks to the foundation of the basic income. I have no other. Oh, there is. There are two more questions now. One question, Billy, was $7 a good amount per week in your village? And there's another question. I asked them now, were the money lenders unhappy about this change? And there's a third question. What is your vision about the children? Should they receive income as well? So there are three questions, and please try to answer all of them. And I can remind you if you cannot remember them all. Thank you.
Yes, I remember one is talking about the situation of the children. We are praying that one day they also receive a basic income. That is our prayer, though we will also have an argument about how it will benefit them. Because there's an argument that if they are given money, some may decide to leave school. But I cannot confirm that experiment because we have not done that experiment. I cannot confirm that. What I know is that through the money they gave to their parents, they are able to go to school and do their studies. The other question was about the money lenders. These people were very happy about the impact it was having on the people. The various impacts are so many, and most of them were very positive. In fact, they were planning maybe to add more members in future. Then the other question that was the first one, $7 enough for the community. $7 in Kenyan shillings is $700. 700 Kenyan shillings. I can say yes, it is enough. I can say no, it is not enough. For one that is earning something, it will be top up. For somebody who is not getting even $1 in a week, somebody is not sure of getting $7 in a month, and that is most of the cases, then $7 is good for them. I can't say it is enough, but it is better than nothing.
Okay, thanks a lot, Billy, for these clear and concise responses. And also, I must admire your memory that you immediately remembered all these 3 questions which I put at you in one go. I cannot see any more questions. So I think we can stop the session here. And again, I would like to thank Billy and his team for this very interesting and encouraging experiment, and for the interesting results you have presented, and also for the useful and good responses, which I think helped us to understand your project in a much better way. So thanks a lot, Billy, and all success for the ongoing project. Thank you. So now I would like to ask the final session, the final speaker from Korea, examining the change in public opinions on basic income idea in Korea, Mr. Seungju Lee from Daegu University. I hope I get the pronunciation right. If you are here, can you please start with your presentation? And again, as I said before, 15 minutes for the presentation, and then about 15 minutes for the question and answers and the discussion. Over to you. Thank you. Hello, Seungju. Can you find your presentation to upload it?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me? And you can see my slide, right?
At the moment, I can only see you. I cannot see your slides.
If you can hear me or see my slide.
Now I can see the slides, yes. But with also the frame around it from your computer. But you can go ahead with the presentation. Thank you.
Can you see my slide?
Yes, I can see your slides. I don't know, did you upload them beforehand, or did you sort of, is this from your own computer at the moment?
Oh, I think it's just technical problem because I mean I already uploaded the slide.
I mean, as I said, I can see your slide, the first slide, and also the surrounding frame, which is sort of the window from your computer. Now it has gone.
It's from my own computer.
Okay, so you didn't upload it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not here as a technical expert. I don't know whether there should be any problem. We were told to upload before the session, but I see Michael, you say there is you can present from your own computer, I assume. So please go ahead and try and do it. Please.
Well, I will. Okay, I will just present my work anyways. If you cannot see the slide, and I think it's a little bit, hard to understand.
Could see your slides, as I said, when you for a moment it could be seen. So I need to do screen sharing, and maybe then it will work. So please go ahead. Seung, can you try for me? I have now put on screen sharing, so you should be able to present from your computer. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me, right?
I can hear you, and there is a message on my screen establishing connection, so I suppose the system is trying to establish connection to your system. Just please start presenting your presentation. Please start, and we will see whether it works. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, today I'm. Okay. Well. Okay. Oh my God.
Please start share. Can you share the screen?
Yeah. I already shared the screen. So I don't know. I'm going to start it anyway. Well, today I'm going to start. Today I'm talking about the how the changes in public opinions in universal basic income is. I already shared the screen. How about now?
You have to click twice on share screen. That's what I was told. So
You can see my slide right now. Okay, well. Okay, today I'm gonna. I will. Yeah, I already did. Can I go on?
please try again.
Did. Can I go on with?
Yeah, please try again to share screen.
Michael here. Oops. Are you still there? So you need to share, then choose your slides, and then share, so that you can see your slides in front of you. Reinhard?
Are you talking to me, Michael?
Already I did, and then I see the some acknowledgement that saying establishing connection.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do not understand the system, so I cannot help. I hope Michael can help to deal with this situation. Seungju, can you see the message to send the slides as PDF to Michael? Thank you. Hello, Seungju, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Now for a short time your first slide appeared. Now I can see again your computer screen with the first slide.
The first screen.
I can see it. Please go ahead with your presentation.
See my slide right now.
I can see the computer screen with your first slide. Let's try and go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, I'm sorry for the inconvenience I caused. Well, today.
Please go ahead and start, Seungju. Please start the presentation.
Well, you know, somebody's keep talking about the all right.
Is there anything which stops you from presenting? We can just see your first slide and cannot hear you talking. Can you please go ahead?
Well, I will start the presentation. Well, today I'm going to talk about the how changes in public opinions in universal basic income in South Korea, and I'm assistant professor at Daegu University at social welfare department in Korea, and my name is Seungju Lee, and also the Jong Seung who is main author of this study is actually
Seungju, is there a problem because we can see always the first slide and then you start talking, but you don't continue.
There's some some echoing, voices. I can hear some echoing voices, and then it really interrupts my presentation. So that's why I stopped.
Please go ahead. I mean, I don't know whether the echo is due that sometimes if there's another computer on, is there another computer on with the same link in your room? I can hear some voices in the background. I'm not sure whether this is in your room.
I will start.
Yeah, please start. Now it's the second one, and Michael said that you have to leave the auditorium. That may cause the echo. Thank you. Please go ahead now because the time is getting short. So please start.
Very much. Well, actually, I'm gonna talk about the how changes in public opinions on universal basic income in South Korea, and why we started this study is because the public support for UBI increased for last several years in South Korea. According to some private research center survey result, as you can see, the rate of supporters is increasing over the years slightly. In particular, the positive attitude towards the UBI rose substantially after universal emergency relief funds was distributed in the spring of 2012, 2020 for reducing reducing the impact of COVID-19. As a result, the major parties started paying attention to UBI, and candidates from the major political parties proposed the UBI for 2022 election campaign. For instance, in September 2020, People's Power Party, which is the main conservative observers of UBI, changed the party's political directions, and some politicians there were actually embracing the introduction of UBI at the time. And in July 2021, Lee Jae-myung, who was leading presidential candidate at the time in the ruling Democratic Party, pledged to introduce UBI when he was elected president. However, when the election came near, the public support for UBI declined, and Lee Jae-myung actually lost the election at the end. As you can see in the slide, there were subsequent decrease in terms of UBI, the rate of UBI support, and also Yoon Suk-yeol, who was elected president for the 2022 election, continuously objected to UBI. As public support for UBI declined, Lee Jae-myung actually also downplayed his UBI policy during the campaign. So we really wanted to examine whether public support for UBI really decreased over the years, And if that happens, then what was the reason behind that? And to analyze the events, and we thought that it is really important to examine who support the UBI in each year, and I mean like what drives public support for UBI for each year, and then if something bad happens, then what happened to the supporters of UBI? Well, actually, there are some previous studies. Actually, a lot of previous studies in terms of examining what characteristics the UBI supporters have in Korea. Well, for instance, Kim Young-soon actually explained that the part-time workers and also the youth community union members are really positively associated with the UBI support, and also Kim Soo-han and others also think that the social economic variables are not significant. However, it is really important to think that the people's, personal perceptions on labor market precariousness are significantly associated with the UBI idea. And also, Jung Han-oh examined that explained that the majority of people support the objective or concept of UBI. However, only 33% of them are positive on UBI when they realize that there are increased tax involved. And also other things that the political progress needs are more associated with the support of UBI, and also Yang Jin and others that think that positive factors for supporting UBI will be the political position and trust of governments and age and this gender. So we think we really wanted to examine the what are the characteristics of the support, and to examine those characteristics, we use the Korean General Survey, social survey done by the Seungju Lee University in Korea, both in 2018 and 2021, and the survey data used the same questions, which was as you can see in the screen, and we had five. They had five answers for the question. So since the dependent variables is multinomial, and also it has orders, so we use the ordered budget regressions instead of just a simple, regression, multilinear regressions. So as you can see in the table in the slide, for 2018, homeowners were less likely to support the UBI than tenants. And those who supported increasing taxes to expand the social welfare and increasing expenditures for elderly welfare, or raising the minimum wage and the increasing immigrant workers were more supportive of a UBI. I mean, basically, someone who is supportive of more generous welfare policies will be likely to support the UBI ideas. And also, if you can see the next slide for 2021, financial dissatisfaction and financial worries as well as age were significant predictors of support for UBI in 2021. and also those who are living in the urban areas are less likely to support UBI than rural residents, and also the coefficient for merit. As you can see in the previous slide, merit variable is actually insignificant. However, in the 2021, the merit variable is significant. However, the sign has been changed to negative. It was a positive before, but it is negative, which means that those who are not married are more likely to support the UBI idea. And also political satisfaction and progressive political orientation became significant positive, and those who thought government should help the unemployed and the poor more and tries to reduce the income gap were more supportive of the UBI, which means that the also like the 2018 result in 2021, those who are more generous about the welfare distribution would tend to support the UBI idea more. And then we also did the full regression result, including T variables, including both 2018 data and 2021 data together. And also we included T variables to see if time is associated with the support of whether people support basic income ideas or not. As you can see, a coefficient for T is significantly negative, which means that the overall decline in the support for UBI from 2018 to 2021, and those who are not employed were significantly more supportive of UBI, and homeowners and urban residents were significantly less supportive of UBI than tenants or rural residents, as you can see in the previous slide. And also we also included the interaction terms, which is time and female and time and married, and they are really highly significant, and which means that the female and non-married became more supportive of UBI if time is considered. And also political satisfaction, social trust, and political orientation were highly significant in the pool regression result. So what these results say? First of all, those who think that they are economically precarious, not actually economically poor. I mean like tenants or financially worried or financially dissatisfied and non-employed, and someone who was living in the rural area tend to support UBI, which means that relatively they think they are relatively poor, might think they need the UBI. And also females and non-married also became significantly positive over the years, as you can see in this in the slide in model 3. And also more politically progressive ones are likely to support UBI than the conservative ones, and more generous welfare attitude. Someone who has more generous welfare attitude was strongly associated with the support for UBI. For instance, those who supported increasing tax for middle class to expand the social welfare, and those who supported the increasing the minimum wage, and those who were sympathetic to immigrant workers and were significantly associated with the support for UBI, and those believe that the government should help the poor and the unemployed, and that government should reduce the income gap were significantly more associated with the supporting the UBI in 2021. However, how the support for UBI changed over the years. As you can see in the table, the support for UBI declined over the years. As you can see, in 2018, the rate of supporters were 37.4, and it has been decreased to 31.7 in 2021. And on the contrary, neutral ones and opponents were rising. Why this is happen? Why this is happening? We think as Moon Jae-in popularity decreased over the years, political satisfaction plummeted in 2021. As you can see in the table below, the very satisfaction and so much satisfaction of the current political parties has been substantially decreased. However, the variances by these is rising. So also, and also the association, as you can see, as we can see the slide, the previous slide, association between political satisfaction and support for UBI was positive in 2021. So that explains that the political satisfaction, the lower the political satisfaction becomes a lower support for UBI over the years. And also we can explain that as Moon Jae-in's popularity declined, the proportion of progressiveness shrank in 2021. You can see as you can see in the table above, very progressive and somewhat progressive ones are decreased. However, the conservative and very conservative was slightly increased. As I talked before, the association become political orientation, which means that if someone who has more politically progressive are more likely to support UBI, and it was the statistic is significant in 2021. So over the years, a decline in support for UBI between 2 years assumed to be caused mainly by the increased political dissatisfaction and in line the proportion of conservative within the societies. I think this is as far as we actually find the result, and also this is actually ongoing, studies recently, and I think I'm going to stop here. And if there are questions, then you can, feel free to ask questions. And thank you very much.
Okay, Seung Lee, thank you very much for your interesting presentation about the change of opinion in in Korea. And yes, there is one question I've received. The question, and please stop sharing your screen, Seung, so that we can see. Please stop sharing your screen on your computer. Stop sharing. So the question I've received is whether you observed any differences in support between young and old people, and young people who go to university and the others who do not go to university. Has there been any, did you look into this sort of difference? And if yes, did you observe any sort of difference in support between these groups? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for your your questions. Actually, we did examine the young people versus old people. However, also young people who is more progressive, politically progressive, are more likely to support the the UBI. However, all the folks they're more in a politically conservative, so they're not they are less likely to support the UBI, and we didn't see the retired people, and I think it was really a good suggestion. And also we cannot include the students at university and those who did not go to the university or school in the tertiary schools, because we cannot really see the education levels there. So
Seungju, thanks for responding to the question. I do not have any other questions from the audience at the moment, and I think as we are approaching almost the end of the session, and I, as I said, have to go to another session, I would propose that we stop here unless I give 1 minute for submitting any other questions. If not, we will stop. In the meantime, I already would like to thank all presenters for their interesting and thought-provoking presentations, and also thank you to the audience for your questions, and especially also because we had some problems to our technical support, Michael, that you have been able to quickly resolve these issues so that we could have all the 3 presentations. So thank you to all of you. I cannot see any new questions coming up, so I suggest that we finish the session here. I would like to wish all of you a good day or good evening or good morning wherever you are, and I wish all of us success with the basic income idea, and hopefully that it will sort of be implemented in some parts of the world or even everywhere soon. So thanks a lot and have a good day, and see you somewhere in another session or somewhere in another place. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.
thank you.